If we are up and running, and then we'll get things going here. So it looks like my nameplate's on here, and I'm still waiting for the screen to update with me actually being live. So I think I'll take advantage of the opportunity and start dumping in some text. Let's see if we're live now with a refresh. And it looks like we are now live. Mic check, mic check. And it looks like we are now live. Check, check, mic check. And it looks like we are now live. All right, good enough. So volume's there. Sounds like we're going to be okay. Grabbing the link here. I'm just going to do some social media boosting here real fast. I'll give you my origin story real quick, and then we're going to get to work. So, hey, my name is Phil Kearney. I create role-playing games. I illustrate them online, and I've been running games in Dungeons & Dragons since 1987. I've been creating content for DMsGuild in 5th edition since 2017. I actually got started because when Wizards of the Coast started to create Magic the Gathering products for Dungeons & Dragons, finally, after 20 some odd years, I think everyone was really excited about seeing like color language, like spellcasting options for MTG into D&D, and that didn't happen. The general philosophy of 5e now is to take narrative concepts and then boil them down so they work with mechanics that already exist inside of what Dungeons & Dragons has published previously. We saw that with like Spelljammer, and that they just had you use Saltmarsh rules even though you're flying instead, without any further consideration. And when it comes to the color magic system, they just took the Guilds of Ravnica and had you use the 8 schools of magic and spell slots like normal. That's what got me started in creating homebrew content that I publish on DMsGuild, a color mana system. So, hey, bro, how you doing? So that's where I started, and now we are in a place where we're creating a Magic the Gathering color land themed hex crawl campaign toolkit that I'm playtesting as a DM using the martial power system that we have developed as alternate magic mana resource options for martial characters that are not spellcasters. So we're let's see where we're at here. This is, if you're on the X Twitter platform, I'm at Phil Kearney. You can follow me, get links there. Here on YouTube, I'm at Phil Kearney. Like, subscribe, bell icon, notifications. Here's the Martial Power playtest document that we're going to be operating inside of today, which we have here. So you can click on the link, get access to it. It's a half casting, non-spell casting magic system that martial characters can use, intended for use with barbarians, fighters, monks, paladins, rangers, and rogues. Plus, there's options for artificers to gain power through infusions, and for warlocks to gain martial powers through invocations. So they remain spellcasters that can spec into, with a limited degree, martial powers, but none of the spellcasters have access to any of the power options that are in the book, even though all the characters will be using the same mana resource. Once this book publishes, all 13 classes can use the same mana resource and structure to be able to do stuff. So that was the goal of the book, was to create these high energy instant effects, sustained powers, point and click magic effects, reactions, maneuvers, exploits, all inside of the half-caster frame with a mana point system instead of spell slots. So where are we at? Episode 137 now. So basically the previous 100 some odd episodes are us basically building this, updating it, going through playtesting, revising the results that we saw, and continuing to refine. And we've gotten to the point where we have a pretty slick 170 powers, 115 of them use mana, 50 some odd are like cantrip type effects that don't actually require mana, but eat into the number of powers that you can prepare per day. And then we have, after that, we have unique optional class features for each of the classes that can use power to basically create character action economy and options inside of the class to use mana instead of like a daily resource system. And then each subclass has its own list of bonus powers, just like spellcasters gain bonus spells that they add to their list. All of these subclasses have additional powers that they automatically have prepared each day, and we've modified all the subclasses with the information that we currently have available to utilize these resources and powers. So now that we have a base model here, and anyone that wants to check on this, it's a read-only document for you, but you can build out characters of any of these classes and subclasses up through 20th level. So if you just want to sling mana around at your own table, let me know how it goes. But I'm building a 5th level hex crawl adventure in the world of Ravnica, in the ruins of the Rubble Belt, using a color mana system that we've been developing, which we have here towards the end of the book. Actually, I want to just take a quick gander here. The front section of this book, without any class modifications, is a total of, what is that? So the first 18 pages of this are all the mechanics for the casting, like the power system, the mana resources, and how everything works. And then from there, on page 19, we have barbarians, and then we go through all the class features. So you want to skim like the first 7 pages to get an idea of how this stuff works. And there's like 10 pages of different power descriptions, which for the most part you don't need to know until you get to higher levels. And then you pick out which class you're using, so then you only need to digest the information for the specific class and subclass that you want to choose, so you can thumb through those in a catalog style. And once you get to all of that, your characters, you're basically otherwise just building a character like normal, and we get into the actual adventure playtest. So I'm now scrolling down to the toolkit that we built for the DMs to run their own Hexcrawl campaign. If they're interested, get past the random weapon system, the random magic item generator, and building creatures with power, different magic paradigms to channel power through, like color magic or elemental magic, like Avatar: The Last Airbender. How monsters can be altered, backgrounds for Strixhaven, Theros, and Ravnica settings to use their backgrounds with this. And then we have some examples of creatures using powers to up their difficulty and action. To break up the claw bite routine that you would normally see on a monster, you can add powers instead for them to have alternate combat forms that they can utilize. We have a list of sample characters that need to be updated that will be included at the back of the book in the appendix as just sample characters. And then we get finally to the Rubble Belt playtest. Okay, so here we are in the Rubble Belt. We are going to drop this. These are all the books some of the books I've published. And here's where the Rubble Belt is at right now. We are currently in the process of utilizing the 5-room dungeon philosophy of determining what the major theme. The blue points are floating islands, and the blue dashes are broken or sky bridges, some of which are broken. Some of which are fallen. Here you can see with the little red lines, these are that have basically fallen down, so you can use them as on-ramps off of the surface level to go up a couple hundred feet over the course of, like, it have like a gradient like this up onto one of the sky towers. The red dots and red lines, these are points of interest along the ground level. All of this blank white area that is currently unoccupied is for the most part waterlogged still marsh, mud. It's like a hot springs area, so there's volcanic rock and flooded plain and steam vents and geysers that are populating the area. But these red points and connecting lines are where we're focusing the points of interest in the adventure. And you can see here that the sky islands are overlapping with some of, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red points of interest, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points of interest on the sky islands, and the sky island and ground node number 2, those are directly stacked on top of each other, which we've determined to be a tower, basically a steam vent control tower to oversee and regulate the steam that should be going through these pipelines that are indicated at these different red points. But since this is the Rubble Belt, everything's been ruined. The steam vents don't operate the way that they should, but they make great layers for monsters and hazards for people to mess around inside of. Currently, what I'm thinking about is reorienting this map so that, because currently the team is coming in here looking at the world map. The team started off in the swamp, and then at 3rd and 4th level, they chose to go into the center elevated blue land tile. And then after they defeated and secured that tile as a safe zone for them to take long rests in, they now chose the center bottom elevated blue tile to be the next point of exploration. So this is where we're going to spend the next probably 5-6 sessions at level 5 and then level 6, like 2 or 3 sessions each, and 5 and 6 here in this one. So that's what we're designing for currently. When the team conquers this tile, then they can decide which other tile it is that they would want to go to. Presumably, it would be either this white, or this blue tile. The goal is to march westward. So 5th and 6th, presumably 7th and 8th, 9th and 10th. 9th and 10th levels where we're currently planning on ending the playtest campaign. I already did a lot of testing for this at 16th through 20th level last year. The really high end, and it worked really well. It didn't blow anything out of balance. It was just cool high end stuff to sling mana around. Right now we're working on reverse engineering things so that we can still have a lot of options available for characters to sling mana around even though you're low level. It's where a lot of the interesting action economy variant rules that we've come up with, the sacrifice action economy to gain more mana so that you do less per round, but you do it with more impact so that you're never wasting your turn. You can either break up your actions to do a lot of stuff, or you can do very little things but have a high impact on what it is that you're doing. So you can control your action economy depending on what the challenge is. So we're moving from this tile here to this tile here. So there's a northeastern entry point into the tile that we're generally contending with. So most of the cool stuff that's going on in this encounter is currently front loaded in the northeast section, and I don't want to, from a game design perspective, I don't want to leave it there. I want to rotate this so that it's not what the team first gets access to. Let's see, how is this stuff sitting? I've got some. Get up in there. Thank you. There and here. There we go. So if I instead flipped it so it was like this, now the team coming in from the northeast has them encountering a land node first, and then everything else is further into the tiles. So we would then take time digging through the different points to get to the core of where the team wants to be at towards the back end of the hex of the land tiles. So there's time. Each of these little squares is 1 mile. So a character can do 3 squares in an hour under normal marching conditions. So we can move from node to node exploring different spaces. So that's currently what we're in the process of doing right now. And I think I just need to adjust these things. So since we flipped the map over, this feels like the right way to do the map. And since we inverted that, I need to then come into here and redo the points. So I'm going to take a moment to do that. And while we're in the process of doing that, I'm kind of just letting my brain work to figure out what we want this place to look like. Five, 4. Come on, numbers. I can't see the little circle there against the red. So I can't tell where the hell I'm drawing. That's gonna double 2, and this will be 1, and then this is 4, and this is 3. That's 2 already. 1, and then 5, This is gonna be Boss Perch. Treasure Red. Guardians. Boss here against boss here, so that's interesting. This is Puzzle. This is Trap. This is Trap. This is Treasure. And this is Guardian. These are the way that we label the 5 rooms inside of a dungeon. So we're just placing those here quickly for reference points. I'm going to get rid of this. There we go. Hey, what's up? So how much prep does one need to do for a Hexcrawl campaign? To my knowledge, the players go anywhere in this game. Right. So what there is an agreement that's generally recommended when you're doing hex crawls. And that's what we determined with, like, when we started this playtest campaign. The way that it worked was the team started, the story is that they're flying in an ornithopter on basically a personnel carrier, and there's like 30 some odd people, including the characters. So there's a bunch of NPCs and the characters that are in transport from one urban hub to another across the planet. While they're going across the rubble belt, which is basically wastelands, while they're flying across the wastelands, something like the engine fails, the ship is going down, it crash lands in the swamp. So this is a 30-mile swamp area that we're looking at the starting point. And then the team's goal is to head west, because they'll either find a way to call for help, because the ship is gone. So they'll be able to call for help some way by finding resources that allow them to do so, or they'll eventually find their way out of the rubble belt altogether. So when the team started, we had them crashing in the swamp, and their first decision to make was which of these 3 hexes, which one of these 3 land tiles do you guys want to move through? Because the story is that all these 30 some odd non-combat characters that are on the ship, your team has to protect them and find a way through the rubble belt that keeps the non-combat characters alive and safe. They could be envoys or like important theocrats or whatever. They're valuable. They should stay alive. You're there to protect them. So the way the adventure runs is the team picks one of these tiles, which are 10-mile blocks. This block of 30 is a 30-mile block here, and each of these regions inside of it are 10 miles. So the idea is that the team chooses a new tile to explore, secure, and then advance the caravan of non-combat characters into before they move into another tile. They have to go into a tile, explore, clear out threats, so it's safe for the non-combat characters to move into that space and sleep, so they can slowly move across the environment with the characters. So the characters act as scouts, going ahead, clearing out any threats or making agreements and coming to arrangements so that when you bring the caravan into the area, they aren't going to get attacked. So the team succeeded at that goal at 3rd and 4th level here by making a deal with a Sphinx that was exploring the area looking for blue mana crystals to be able to power up some experiment stuff that it was working on. So he's like, yeah, if you help me find this stuff, I'll host. I'll be your host. You guys can hang out here, do whatever you want, whatever. I'm just happy to have the help, and thank you. So they helped. They secured the area. Now this is a safe point. Once they secured that safe point, hey team, what's the next hex that we're going to, or what's the next land tile that you want to explore to move your team into? They decided they didn't want to mess around with like a raw swamp. They just came out of swamp. They don't want to go dipping back in because it's going to require boats and stuff, and it could be really dangerous. They decided that they didn't want to deal with the broken terrain they were just afraid that there would be artifacts or like weirds and stuff that could end up causing a lot of trouble. So they decided just to weave between the two and stay. They knew there were sky islands over here. They knew that it was fairly level terrain underneath the sky islands. They decided to stick with a terrain type that they were somewhat familiar with already, so they just decided to catty corner into this tile here. So the deal, the quest of the adventure is you're going to stay in that tile, and you're going to solve. You're basically going to conquer that tile, so that it becomes a safe spot for you to bring your caravan into before you select your next tile, which will presumably either be this one, or this one, because the theme of the campaign is to go westward. So ideally the team wants to cross and continue moving into this area westward along the grids. And if you guys move through here, obviously we'll do like whichever one of these three presumably you pick. I mean, you could throw me for a loop and go this way, or you could decide to backtrack if there's like, because in an extended campaign, we don't have to have anything locked down, like how long things take to pace. The way that we're doing it right now is basically 2 levels per tile. So we'll have a few sessions at 5th level, and then the team will be able to upgrade to 6th level, and then have a few sessions at 6th level before before probably conquering the tile, and then choosing a new tile. And when we move into a new tile, we'll upgrade the characters to 7th and then 8th level, and by the time they conquer that tile, they'll choose another tile. So we'll presumably we'll be along this line somewhere here, like one of these 4 is probably like, I'm gonna guess like you guys would go here and then maybe here. So like this would be 7th and 8th level, and this would be 9th and 10th level, and that's pretty much where I'm planning on stopping the playtesting. I'm okay with that zone between level 11 through 15. If it works from level 1 to 10, and then 16 to 20, it'll be fine from 11 to 15. But maybe I'll throw it out and playtest at some point. But once you get into 10th level as half casters, you're going to have a lot of resources available to you that a hex crawl isn't nearly as dangerous as it once was. And without having any real campaign to emotionally tie the players to the area, it doesn't make a lot of sense to do a hex crawl anymore once characters get into double digits. A hex crawl campaign is like really good for like level 3 till 9. Like that's the sweet spot. And so if you're going to run a hex crawl, having characters start at 3rd level and then having them gain a level every 1 to 3 hexes, depending on the pace of play that you have and how much adventure you have packed into each hex or tile that the team moves through. For the most part, the point of a hex crawl is that it's random stuff, that you don't have a plot that drives the characters through an arc where they'll have a conclusion. The point of a hex crawl is that there is no point. Your characters are in this environment. They're simply exploring the area, looking for often resources, allies, or just simply a way through to the other side. In this format, where what we're doing is you have this non-combat team that has to be protected as you're moving through the hex crawls. So the metagame of this is keep your non-player characters safe in an extended escort mission where your characters are going ahead to scout to create a safe path that the caravan can move forward with you. The caravan, or a secured hex, is where you can take long rests. So during your time in this new hex, your team can always retreat back to the caravan to take a long rest before attacking that area again. And the agreement is you're going to conquer this hex. We're going to spend 4 to 6 sessions inside of this hex for you to tear it apart, and then you're going to pick another hex to then tear apart. That gives the DM a limited arena in which to build inside of. And I can be thinking about surrounding territories and what other threats may be taking interest in what you have going on inside of this hex right now. But the agreement is you just tear this hex apart, and when you're done chewing it up, we'll pick a new hex to chew on and give you some more power so we can keep escalating threats as you continue moving through the Rumble Belt or any hex crawl. That's generally how hex crawls work. So that's the format that we're adopting. I love hex crawls. I love not having a set campaign, but for the characters to build meaning from the things that they encounter. Most WotC content that's produced these days has a storyline that you are going to hit the narrative beats throughout that storyline, whether you're really interested or not. It's how the story flows. With a hex crawl, it's random events happen in random locations, and when your character shows up, one of those things is probably going on. But things are happening whether your character is there or not. So having things updated in tiles can change the power balance before your character even gets there. So it just depends on how much prep work a DM wants to do about how dynamic the environment is that the players are stepping into. The way that I'm building it right now is I don't worry about what's going on inside of a region until the team says we're going to that region. But you don't get to choose that until you've conquered your current region. So I'm always prepping. I don't have to do much prep in advance. All I have to do is just focus on what's going on inside this 10-mile space. So that's the idea behind that. So we're going to be a little scattergun all over the place today because we're basically filling in pieces about stuff. Puzzle 2 here equals the puzzle area. So there's guardians, which are generally like monsters that you have to defeat somehow to be able to get further access into the region. Puzzles are like little brain teaser type things to mess around with. I like using physical things like pull a lever, a thing happens, or like twist a dial, a thing happens, or like put so many. My chair keeps fluttering in and out in the background. That's infuriating to me. I'm gonna see if I can. There. If I change the angle of my chair so it's behind me, it tends to stay blipped out. I was getting a seizure watching that stuff in a sideboard here. Anyway, so puzzles are just things that you can mess around with that do stuff. Traps are like puzzles that will hurt you, but it's basically a security system that punishes you for going into an area and gives you an opportunity to spot it and either throw some mana at it or use ability checks to disarm the thing. But it's different from a puzzle in that the trap is there to damage you or punish you for progressing, while a puzzle is generally something that needs to be interacted with to continue, or you can ignore it if you want to, but if you do interact with it, it will change the environment in some manner that's worth your time. Like a puzzle could be like figuring out how to lower a drawbridge, for instance, so that you can get across a river that was causing difficulties for you. Like that would be a puzzle. How can we get the drawbridge to drop? And there might not be any. The fun thing about X crawls is that there's not necessarily any solutions. An immersive style, an emergent story style of play creates challenges and complications, but doesn't assume anything about how it's going to get solved. So without having a scripted solution, the DM has the freedom to allow any cockamamie plan work. It's just that the team is investing effort in trying to find a way to create a solution, and presumably the solutions that they create are going to jive with the philosophies and like alignments and temperament of the characters. We're going to fight our way through this place. We're going to sneak our way through this place. We're going to negotiate through or bluff our way through this place. This speaks to the type of kind of action and solutions that your team likes to create, and I think the martial power system creates mana fueled boosts to be able to work inside all three of those pillars of adventure. So the puzzle here that we have, and we're currently looking at the Sky Islands. We're looking at the puzzle equals control system for the Steam controls for the Steam pipe system. And then we're going to do themes for red as well, which will be different. Let's see. Number 1 is trap. Puzzle stays the same. Trap, not really sure what the trap is currently. Number 3 is Guardian. Number 5 is Treasure. Number 4 Boss. Treasure. And we don't know. Let's see. The boss is that artificer. That's what we rolled randomly anyway. Guardian is going to be Magman and Steam Methods in general. Trap at 0.1. Okay, so there's no... Trap and treasure. We had determined previously using our Oracle system of D6s. The Oracle system had determined that the traps in Area 1 was preventing access to the treasures in Sky 4. So we see that there is a support tower floating above the red node, the point of interest, adjacent to treasure. So these things are very, very close to each other. How do I want to express that? Let's do some Oracle. Was there at some point a connector between 1 and 4? And it's a 5-on-5, which means probably not, but definitely yes. So, which means that they've been broken. I rolled a 4, then 3, so no, they aren't broken. So they're still intact. Also got a negative, so I'm being double negative here, which means I'm not thinking in the right direction. It shouldn't be so much about, is there still a connection? There was a connection. It's still tenuously there. So is there something that's causing the connection to be inaccessible? No, there isn't. So the connection still exists. No, it doesn't. I'm getting a lot of negativity here. So I'm trying to think, using yes-no equations, what's a different path of questions I can follow to find the sort of answers that'll give me a yes to be able to move forward. No's are closing off options for me using the Oracle. But once I get yes answers, that leads me in the path that I want to go to. So if there was a connection but it doesn't exist anymore, does that mean that we're looking at a pathway that can't be walked? And that is a 3-on-3, so that means yes. So that means, like, was there like some sort of like an air vent system? No. Was there like service tunnels that led from the Sky 1 and 6? Okay, so were there service tunnels that led from what is now known as the treasure area 4 down to area 1, what is now being labeled as a trap? I rolled a 1, which means absolutely yes, and then as an answer I rolled a 6, which is not only was it absolutely certain that that was the case, it is the only way it could be. So that means that this was some sort of a connector. So we already know that the control panels for the steam vents here at the puzzle area number 2 is what controls access to these things. So does that mean that we have to mess around with the puzzle at area 2 to be able to affect the trap and access to the treasure at point 4? I rolled a 2 and a 6. So 2 as in is almost certain that's the way that it goes. And then number 6 confirms that absolutely it is. So whatever. So there must be some sort of, is there like, nice, 5 and 4. So we know the trap here at number 1 is driven by the steam that has to be cut off in the puzzle area. So the trap in area 1 here we now know is steam geysers makes access to route up into the islands at 4 dangerous to traverse. Need to deactivate the steam pipe access in area 2 to disable the threat. So now we have a general theme about what's going on with the traps here at area 1, that it's going to be basically, so we have, this is a steam vent land card that we randomed up from our random MTG card land card deck. So we know that the ground is steam vents, which means that all these red connector points is basically steam, like literal steam pipes that lead from underground, like geyser systems that are being used for geothermal heat. And that system is broken because of the rubble belt destruction. So now the geysers are basically uncontrolled. They're doing what they want to do. Steam is a blue-red energy. It's super hot water. Hot being red, water being blue. Hot water, there you go, which is an azet flavor. So now we have a general idea of what's going on with the traps that are in this area. We already know from before that this trap area isn't actually so much a trap itself, but another control system that can disable various wards and runes throughout the area, throughout this tile, that will cause trouble for the team. So they have to go and disable basically the trap controls here. There's steam controls here. The treasure that's here is treasure to the artificer, the Azet artificer that currently has its boss lair over here. This is the Sky Boss, which is going to be a mutated flying Krasis. That's basically the apex predator in this area and has the ability to interact with anything throughout the entire tile. It doesn't, like, if it tries to leave this tile and go northeast to where the team was, that's where the Sphinx is. So if the Sphinx, if this Krasis tries to invade the Sphinx's territory, the Sphinx is the apex predator in that terrain, and it would then fight the Krasis. And so there's that buffer of don't fuck with each other's hunting grounds vibe. So unless this Krasis is forced from this tile, it's gonna stay and continue hunting inside of it. Hey, what's up, Text? I know railroading is bad and all of that, whatever. But what if your players catch you with your pants down and go somewhere when you haven't prepared anything in the sandbox game? Again, you don't let them do that. The agreement is, next session, where do you guys want to go? And I will guide you there, and that's where our adventure will be. So each adventure takes a step forward, and you deal with that hex. You don't just decide, fuck this hex, we're going to go teleport to the 9 planes of hell. What do you got for me? I don't have anything for you. Because you didn't say you were going to the 9 hells this session. You said you were going to the blue tile. So we're going to the blue tile and we're hanging out there. The agreement, the meta game agreement that is established in session 0 that I recommend for any hex crawl is, you tell me where you're going in advance and I will then prepare that content for you to consume. Do not change your mind because I will not have anything prepared for you. You made a promise, that is where you were going, and as a DM, I am promising you there will be stuff to do there when you get there. At the end of the session, in a long-form campaign, at the end of the session, the team can choose where they want to go and what to do next. For the sake of this being a playtest campaign, the agreement is you stay inside of this tile and you fuck with it until you conquer it. There you go. So there has to be an agreement between the team and the DM about what you're actually going to be doing session to session, so that the DM isn't wasting, because the DM is doing all this time away from the game, and all the players, all they have to do is just fucking show up and sit down and pay attention and throw some dice and have fun. It's the DM that has to do all the actual work to make the game go. So the most minimal effort that the players can do is make a decision about what they want to do next session and then stick to it. It's a very basic agreement. And if your team is incapable of honoring that, then chances are they aren't actually very good friends. So fuck them. Get a new team, to be quite frank. Because if your players aren't respecting the effort that the players, that the DM is putting into providing an environment for them to sling mana, throw dice, beat stuff up, and make funny noises, if they aren't providing that environment for the DM to be able to operate in safely, then you don't have a team that cares about you. Yeah, basically. I mean, that's the core of it. So it's just your team, like when you have a book adventure, and it has a roller coaster rail that you're riding on for the thrills and giggles of going through the ups and downs and loops and the twists of whatever that story is. It's automatically presuming that you're going to take the next step in the direction that the DM leads you. With this hex crawl style, the team gets to decide which direction they want to go in, and the agreement is they keep going in that direction until the next session, which you can change direction. With this is you stay in this tile until you defeat this tile, and then you choose a new tile to go into. There you go. So let's keep pushing on. We're basically filling in details at this point, just trying to make things make sense. So the boss lair is the Azet Artificer, has a camp that's been secured as a hub with its own resources, Magman, Steam Effets, and Krull. Hiccup. Number 5 is going to be the first thing that the team encounters. So we're calling it a treasure because hopefully it's going to be, it should be some sort of a resource pickup that the team can get. So let's see, is it going to be resources that they get? No. Is it going to be knowledge that they get? No. Is it a potential ally that they get? 6 on 6. So highly unlikely that it's going to be an ally, but in fact, it truly is. So what does that mean to us as an ally? We know number 3, Guardian, is going to be like a major steam vent hub area. Ooh, nice. Treasure equals hub exchange, Steam hub exchange with regional schematics, providing basic information about the tile. So the treasure here is going to basically be it's a broken structure that was a administrative building for the steam vent system that's still available. So we're looking at blue mana resource hub access files. I treat mana as like an internet connection as well as spell power or magic stuff that you can do. You can also plug mana into devices to be able to activate them or manipulate them, to be able to turn things on and off. In a research hub, boss lair is that has for camp. So the general theme here is and it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's only a 2-hour march to get from where is that normally hangs out into puzzles and traps. So let's look at some random threats. Here's a random table that we're building for threats. Let's see. Apex Crisis. go with Scuttlegator. Food hunting. Black Booze. Rustle. Chol. Hunting Party. Steam. Method. Gang. And let's go with Magman Mob. Sap Rolling Terrors. And then 8. So now we're having just a random table of 8. So whenever the team is traversing from one point to the other, you can roll on the random generator table to see what kind of a threat the team is going to run across. Sap Rolling Terrors. And how about... Beast threats. So we'll roll a d12. The first 8 things could cause a problem, so there's a 2 in 3 chance of having an encounter anytime we're traversing from one space to another. The node points that we have along the ground are 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. Next, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. So basically, it's roughly an hour between each of these points to move along here or to move along here. Because each square is a mile, and characters can typically do 3 miles in an hour, so 2 to 4 miles is roughly an hour, and we can fudge the time. We don't have to be specific about it. But it takes basically an hour to traverse from spot to spot. And if you're moving off lines, then you're basically going to be in difficult terrain. So like you could beeline from here, like say where the boss lair is at, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, but that's through hard swamp, or that's through hard terrain. So that would take 8 hours to be able to move that, to get to that point. Like maybe you want to climb up into that tower somehow, or into that floating island. So you decide to slog through and then do a vertical climb. By the time you slog through 8 hours, you're going to be looking at but we're now pushing in a long rest. So moving from node to node, you can do in 1 hour bursts. So, and we've got basically 15 hours to traverse the space before you're looking at exhaustion and need to take a long rest. So we should be able to kick through a couple points there and back again, so that you can then go to the edge of the screen, basically over here, to be able to claim your long rest as part of your protected territory that this is bleeding into. So as long as you're beyond this line, generally here, that's where you can have a long rest without any threat. Anywhere else inside of this area, if you want to take a long rest, you're going to have to create a safe spot for you to do so. Hey, what's up? What is the backstory of the artificer? You'll have to find out. They're looking for knowledge. There's something here in these these sky islands were an Izet research center. It was a Simic research center. Simic deals with a lot of genetic enhancements and magically infusing creatures to, cure cancer and shit like that. So for whatever reason, this Izet artificer is interested in some sort of research that was performed in the Simic laboratories. Exactly what it is, you don't know. That's going to be just some of the stuff that I figure out on my own as part of the narrative. But for whatever reason, he wants to get up into these islands, and he's having difficulty doing so. So there is potential help. The team could potentially help the artificer with his goals, or the team could decide those goals suck and kill him to prevent it from happening. Your choice. Because there are no goals. It's just going to be situations and challenges presented, and it's up to the characters to decide how they want to engage with it. But the goal is to make the place safe for them to be able to operate, which presumably means that you're going to neutralize the bosses one way or the other, either by killing them or negotiating with them. Depending on their intelligence level is going to depend on what I can do. So, hey, Shiner, it's good to see you. So let's just keep picking at this. What time are we at? Oh my god. Okay, so we got about 20 minutes left that we can mess around inside of here before I gotta bounce. So we'll just keep picking at it. We have a random table for ground threats. Now I want to look at Civic Sky Islands. Is that Steam Vents? That's on the ground. And we have the Sky Islands, are Simic controlled, so that's how we're building this out right now. NONE. Let's see. Apex Crisis attack. Apex Crisis attack. That's always going to be a threat because it is the apex predator in the area here at 0.5. Has a very broad view. Like there's not a lot of stuff interrupting its view all throughout this region. So it can pretty much pick and choose what it's going to want to pick off. And it's going to be big. Big enough to carry off people, which could be to your advantage. Like your team could potentially domesticate it and use that as a mount for a limited time, for instance. Apex Crisis attack. So we're looking at, like, while you're on the Sky Islands, what kind of stuff are you going to be messing around with? Sap Rolling Terrors. Which evolve into carrion crawlers. There's living spells, level 1 to 3. Because your character's only 5th level, we're not going to hit you with anything above 3rd level. But living spells are dangerous. So what we can do with a living spell, for instance, let me grab Master Expanded Spell List for color mana. We're in a Simic area of blue-green magic, so presumably we're going to be operating mostly with blue and green magic. So here's a line of like 0, the 3rd level blue spells. How many are there? There's 71 blue spells from level 1 to 3. And green spells, there's 46. So there's a total of 117 of them. And it could be any of them. So let's just randomly roll here for a moment, shan't we? I'm gonna roll percentile dice. First thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go left right. So 1 to 3 will be blue, and then 4 to 6 will be. Excuse me. My computer's making noise. You're gonna have to ignore that. Let's see. So, there's 71 versus 41. So we're gonna make it 1 to 2 is green, and then 4 to 6 is blue. So I rolled a 2, so it's gonna be green, and there's a total of 40. So I'm gonna take. Let's take. Let's take, if I take 40, if I take 4 10-sided dice, that'll give me a range of 4 to 40. And then, if I take an 8-sided die, that'll be a range of 5 to 48. With 5 dice, I can then subtract. No, it'd have to be a 4. So I can roll 44 plus D4 will give me a range of 5 to 44. Minus 4 will give me a range of 1 to 40. There you go. So let's do that. Percentile dice go equals 16 plus 22 24. I'll take my defer. 22 plus 6 is 28. Minus 4 is 24. So let's just count it off. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Here's the spell. Dragons, holy shit. So we have a living spell of Dragon's Breath. So basically it's a rolling ball of magical energy that when it recognizes or identifies a foe, it's basically going to be coming running at you and breathing fire breath on you until you can kill it. It's basically just going to be spamming Dragon's Breath at you. So let's look up 5e Dragon's Breath to determine what it is. We'll go to the dreaded Wikidot because it's fast. Let's look at the 15-foot cone. Dex save, takes 3d6 damage on a failed save. It is a second level spell, so is it going to be second or third level? On a roll of 1 to 4, it's second level. On a 5 or 6, it's third. A roll of 4, so it's a second level spell, which is 3d6 damage. And what does it say? Choose acid, cold, fire, lightning, or poison. Green generally is poison and cold damage. So, I think it's poison, cold, and acid damage. Hold on. Let's double check real quick on the damage type by going to our handy dandy color mana system. Actually, I already have that here, but you could also check it out. You know, anyone that wants to check it out, here, I'll give you an opportunity. The Magic the Gathering 5 color mana system. Here's all the different books. Let's just go into the revised color mana system. This is going to get integrated into the core document once we do the updates. But let's look at what type of damage is associated with green. Acid, cold, poison, and thunder. So we would do acid, cold, or poison are the 3 options that are green that are available from the spell. So we'll roll a d6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, acid. So we're going to have basically a living spell. In this instance, this one is going to be acid spray, 15-foot area, 3d6, which is going to be 9, 3d6 damage, save half. And the save is probably going to be like a DC 14. Dex. There you go. It's like, that's your living spell. So at any time, one of these things can roll up and it can just start spitting acid at you. There you go. Deal with it. But there can be any number of living spells. That's just like one example. So what I'll probably do is build like a D10 table of living spells that the team might mess with. So when a living spell pops up, I'll just roll a D10, and that's the thing you have to fuck around with. Carrion crawlers, living spells. Let's see. Let's go with invisible stalkers. I'm gonna go with an oracle to see if there's other things that are of interest. Yep, steam methods up here too. Clackety clackety clack. So I think we still have, we have 4 people that have signed up. I think we have Hornetico, Kitten Loaf, Rel, I know that you're interested, and, oh yeah, and Dreams. So I know there's 4 people there that are interested. I'd like to have 5 people that are interested. So between now and this weekend, I'm going to be looking to pick up a 5th player. But currently we should have enough body mass to at least get off the ground, and hopefully we'll be able to hold stable. So, but having a 5th or even possibly a 6th person that's interested in playing would be useful, even though it just you always lose people, especially in playtesting when there aren't a lot of emotional stakes, and people could like play a session or 2 and then lose interest. That just happens. So it's not a fault of whatever it is you're playtesting. It's just people are people, and you have to count on attrition. Steam method gain, and is there more stuff? Winged Crisis. And then what else? No. I rolled for elementals. No elementals. Beasts. Beast threats. Beast threats can be like, things like Sturge, for instance, or like giant wasps, komodos, all sorts of stuff. Just stuff that's crawling around inside of the more natural based creatures, not super unnatural weird stuff. But that's a good basic random table for just stuff that the team could be running across while they're crawling around inside of here, aside from more specific, like inside of each node as its own little adventure point. There can be special monsters that exist inside of there to keep things varied. So let's see, I got about 10 minutes left, and then we're gonna have to bounce out of here. Let's see, so we're figuring that out. Steam Hub Exchange with regional schematics is the entry point. Boss Lair is an artificer, it has a camp. The Guardian area has Magman, Steam Methods, and Krull. Around Steam Geysers. Puzzle Area 2 is the Steam Vent Control. And so the treasure, so we made the treasure here, going back to the map. The first point that the team is going to run into is point 5 here where it says treasure. It's going to provide a general map of the steam vents in the area and what their purpose is, so that the team is going to have a little bit of information about each of these node points as they go through. And there'll probably be other node points that the map will indicate that are no longer functioning, that are out here in the stray, but this is the section that's still connected and operational. So out here is going to be disabled stuff. Like once you get here, you're going to see here's the access points for the steam vent system that we're looking at, and we can see that only a small portion of the map that's being demonstrated is still available. So as the team crawls around, they'll see these are the points that are active. Let's see. This area is going to be flooded out. This basically heated still water with a very slow current that moves west and northward. A very slow, because in the overall environment, there's a swamp located here. So the water slowly drains towards the center of this tile. And you can see over here, there's a depressed land. So like the land kind of scoops. If we were to draw this out real quick, it's like here's your swamp area, and then here's some floating islands up top that the team had gotten to. The swamp kind of hits like this this elevated land patch and then falls back into water again, and this water pools all around. You've got the red tile down here. That is a risen elevation point. Like here. And then you have the black tile, which is the swamp back here, and then swamp here as well. And then our blue tile environment here, we've basically got water going along here and then spills out this way. If this were to be like from the perspective of down here, looking back towards where we came from. This being west, this being south, this being north. All the water is draining from this area, is draining into the swamp here and draining into the swamp here. So the water flow from this place is coming from basically from the center, like off of the land here, here and here, pouring in. Oh yeah, we have more swampland over here. Neat. But yeah, the water flow would generally be moving like this word. which makes sense because we have the steam pipe system here. So there must be a water resource that this is pulling from underground to cause the water to be gushing out like that. So that is an interesting point. Let's put that back in. Hey, what's up? So I haven't played on a VTT before, so please be patient with me if I don't know how it all works. You can just use dice at your table. You can write up your character on a notepad or a piece of paper or whatever you want. The only thing you're going to need to do is if we're using a tactical map, just move your character to the square that you want it to sit in using normal 5e mechanics of 5-foot squares movement. But I don't need you to use the Roll20 virtual tabletop to roll dice and stuff. You can just tell me what your results are. You roll your die, tell me what you got, Bob's your uncle, and good to go. So there's very little that you're going to need to worry about. And I don't plan on having a camera. So it's just verbal conversation, so you don't have to worry about being pretty or nothing like that. It's not going to be streamed. No one's going to see it. I might record it for my own reference, but I don't share it. And you'll have access to it if I do. So it might not be a need to, but a lot of times I'll record these things for reference. But you don't have dice. Okay, well, in that case, when you are in the Roll20 environment, this is how you roll dice. Roll 1d20 plus 5. There. It didn't. I don't think it. Yeah. There you go. That is how. That is in the Roll20 interface. That is literally what you would type, and it would spit out a random result plus 5. So that's how it works. So as long as you know what the die roll is and what the bonus is that you have, then you're good to go. You can just play. So otherwise, it's 5e with the mechanical revisions that we have. But that's essentially all it is. Very, very simple. So if you build your character sheet, most of the people what I play, we use a virtual tabletop, but we don't really use the tools in there. We just scoop. Most of our stuff is theater of the mind, and occasionally we scoop characters around on a grid map. But for the most part, the characters build their sheet, and then they have like a little quick sheet, like saving throws equals, and they can just copy paste. They can copy paste their saving throw, or just copy roll. And then they paste, and then 1d20 plus 3 or whatever. And then they can spit out numbers that way. Pretty fast and efficient to do so. Yeah, it's super easy. It's very low stress on your part. It needs to be. It's supposed to be. You're gonna have plenty of stuff to worry about and think about by throwing mana around, making tactical decisions when you're fighting stuff, or trying to figure out how a trap or puzzle works or whatever. But so far, this is coming together pretty. I mean, right now, I have basically the basics of what this place is like. Now I just need to start working out details of things, and I have to think about how much movement can the team make in a 3-hour session. If the tile itself is expected to last 4 to 6 sessions, that's going to be anywhere from 12 to 18 hours of gameplay. Then I'm going to probably. The team is probably not going to make much progress on the first session past here. So like this here is probably all I need to really think about. These 1, 2, 3, 4 points, and the stuff that you could encounter between the two while you're on your way figuring out different areas. And then on the next session, you'll probably be operating inside this space. Third session, you're probably going to be operating inside this space. Fourth session, probably inside of this space. And fifth or sixth session, you're probably going to be like moving around inside all of this. So it's pretty easy to be able to pace out stuff like that, because I can hit you with an encounter at the treasure. I can hit you with encounters on the way for whichever path you go. And then from there, you'll have encounters and mess around stuff. I'll have another random encounter to the next node. So I have set encounter, set encounter, set encounter, random encounter, random encounter, random encounter, random encounter, random encounter. Anytime you guys are taking a march from one node to the next is the trigger for random encounter. There's a 2 in 3 chance that there's going to be a random encounter at any given time. I'm going to script that out ahead of time so I know. When you're doing a hex crawl, you don't want to be like, oh, you guys want to march that way? Okay, let me roll to see what randomly shows up. No, you want to roll all your random dice ahead of time, so that you have enough of a short story built that you can flesh out the details when you get there. So one of the things I'm going to be doing is since we're building the random tables here in real time about what kind of threats the team is going to be facing, as you move from node to node, will know what potential threats exist or how I can combine or change these things coming at you. So you won't know exactly what it is that you're going to be facing, but you, with your meta knowledge, you'll have a vague idea. You guys already have an idea of what's going to be here if you've stuck around for the past few sessions. But specifically what's going to happen, you won't know. And what specific tactics they're going to use, you also don't know until they get there. I'm going to be doing post reviews after each play session to say, here's the stuff that they ran across, here's the stats that we gave them, and here's how they dealt with them. So I won't be previewing the things that you're going to be facing. We'll be doing a post game review of what your team dealt with last session as our player journal, as our DM log, as we do these things on a weekly basis. So since there's only one game a week on a Monday, on Tuesday I can do a follow-up on here's the stuff that we faced, and then on Friday and Saturday I can build out the next session with the stuff that I want you guys to mess around with, then have you do it on Monday, and then follow up with it on Tuesday, rebuild on Friday and Saturday, and hit you again on Monday, and then just rinse, repeat that cycle for 4 to 6 weeks. So, but that's all the time I have for today. So I feel like we've made some ground. I have a much better idea of the kind of stuff that's going to be messing around. I'm going to be back on Friday, and I'll probably be working on environmental hazards. The different type of stuff that the team will just be, like what kind of threats can exist in the steam vent systems, in the unclaimed environment, in the sky towers, and how can some of these creatures that we've built random tables to interact with the threats or the hazards that are going to exist for us to build neat little hazard creature threat combos to make interesting encounters for the team to mess around with. So, but that's all the time I have for today. I'm going to be back tomorrow morning to continue building the forest tokens for the Eberron adventure. I don't assume I'm going to be here for lunchtime tomorrow because my weeks have been busy lately. But then I'll be back Thursday morning, and then I'll be back Thursday afternoon. I'm going to be playing some Atomic Punk with AJ Pickett, Wally DM, How to RPG, and whoever else shows up to throw some mana around for a couple hours. And then after that, I'll be back on to do more Spelljammer, Vocath Fleet Battle. We're going to be looking at the mechanics and breaking down the math for the different squads and commanders that are overseeing them to actually build the fleet combat scenario for that optional adventure in Light as Araxis. So that's it for now. I'll be back later. Be welcome to catch up with me in Discord if you're interested in participating in the playtest. You are most welcome to do so. You can access the playtest content by clicking into my Patreon page, the about Discord community here on my Patreon, the About page. This is a forever link to my Discord, so you are welcome to do so. And while you're here, you can check out some of the articles and stuff that I've posted. So, but that will be it for now, guys. I will be back. I'll be back tomorrow, and I will see you then. Thanks a lot.